All right, let's jump into the world of the NIL, Coach, because I know you've been asked quite a bit about it. And when your recruiting class came out, there was a big hullabaloo, and you even called out a blogger, I think, for throwing out there what your school may or may not be doing on this front. What is your school's approach to NIL, Coach Jimbo Fisher?
There are NILs here, but it's probably less than most schools across the board. Where there is not. The reason I was saying, they were saying it's the only reason they came, which is not true. And you can look, we have state laws. We're not allowed to do that. And plus, the results of who has them are out there. So we're way below everybody else and where they're at. And people just couldn't, in my opinion, just don't understand and appreciate how good Texas A&M is and what we're building. And it was a shock to them that we have a number one class. But we've never, since we've been here, been less than 6 in the country. We've always been in the top 6 classes in the country since we've been here. When I was at Florida State, we had multiple number one classes. And we've always been able to recruit well. And I think, is NIL a part of our world? Is it a problem in recruiting? It can be. The portal, all that's going to be a problem. But people were insinuating that's the only reason we got ours. That's what I said. That was the only issue I had with that whole thing, is that is not it. And those are facts that are on the record that you can look up.
So when you say problems, what are the problems that you can identify?
I think if people do get into trying to buy players, if trying to people that are messing with other guys' players in the portal, that it's amazing how some of these guys in the portal, the day they get out, which are not, they can't have contact with an outside school, but the day they get out of the portal, they've already signed with another school. How does that happen? So, I think there's tampering with players. I think all those things that go on, and I think people entice with NILs and the transfer, and it's like, and that's the problem in college sports, is you don't want to happen. You do not want that to happen. I'm a big part. I'm a true advocate of that, 1,000%.
So you don't want what to happen? The ability to just transfer anywhere?
No, the ability to try to buy players out of the portal. And entice players to come to your school for money.
We had Mac Brown of North Carolina, your colleague at North Carolina, Jimbo, on the show a couple weeks ago. He said he's had players walk into his office with a dollar amount and say, "This is what I have from another school. If you match it, I'll come here." Has that happened to you? No,
I've never had that happen. I haven't had that happen here. We've only had 2 transfer guys in 2 years, a left tackle and Max Johnson, the quarterback. The only 2 transfers we've had since this is open. And we've had a few guys leave, but not many. And then I haven't never experienced what Max said he did there, where a guy walks in and says, does that surprise me? No. Do I think that goes on? I definitely do.
So then, your colleague at Clemson, Dabo Swinney, quoted on ESPN saying, quote, "I think there's going to be a complete blow-up and restructuring of all college athletics, especially football, and there needs to be." Do you agree with that, Jimbo Fisher?
There has to be some adjustments, and the rules have to be, because you have to have the same rules. Every state has different rules by their whatever that is, because I think, most time when you make an adjustment on something, it's ready, aim, shoot. Well, everybody went ready, shoot, aim on this. And so each state started scrambling to make sure their schools weren't left behind, and your rules are not the same across the board. And that can't be good for a sport that it's like every NFL team had a different way to sign free agents or to draft or to do anything else. That wouldn't work in the NFL. So why would that work in college?
So what's the answer? I mean, who would be the body to do that, right? Because you've said it. I mean, I had Nick Saban on last week. He's similar. He's like, it seems everybody, Lane Kiffin, I've had, these are colleagues in the SEC. Everybody wants some sort of level playing field where everybody knows what can be done and what cannot be done. And who can do that, Jimbo Fisher? That's
the question, Rich. I don't know. And it's because it's in the court systems. When you get into the court systems, because now you're talking about lawsuits and what can and cannot be done, I don't know the law well enough to know that. And I think when you get to that part of it, I think that's where it really complicates kids, because listen, do I think kids need a little something? Yes, they should get some. There's no doubt. But how it gets controlled or what it is or when it is or why it is, I'm not smart enough to figure it out, because now you're getting into antitrust laws, into do you have unions? Do you not have unions? I mean, I'm just listening to what people say and things we've.
No, I think you.
I don't know the answer.
I think you're on it. That is the ultimate, coach. Like, if you are going to have players compensated, right? Although not supposedly for their work, supposedly for their name, image, and likeness that comes from their work. Then you need to sort of codify what the rules are, and what that would lead to players having a union. They'd have to, certainly if you're going to sign them to contracts, right? I mean, like, that's the way it would literally professionalize the sport.
I agree, that's why I don't understand, and I'm not smart enough to figure out how does that apply to each individual school by the state laws in which they're in, and is there state schools, there's private schools, so I mean, how do you unify that? I'm not smart enough to understand or have enough law background to ever figure that out. Maybe you do, or know somebody that does.
I've got an honorary sports law degree that was never. By the way, that was never signed by the person who gave it to me. So
I'm with you. But that's a great question, Rich. I mean, I'm all for whatever. Who has that suggestion and who has the answer? I mean, and it's easy for us to all go out here and complain. It's like everything. Everybody knows what the problems are, but how to solve them. And I think it's two different things. And I think that's where we have to really get down to and quit all the bickering. All right, let's figure out what we can do and what are the laws which we can abide by.
And then I guess how much, last one for you on this subject, how much are you as a head coach and at the top of the program's flow chart read into, well, this player has that deal, that player is getting this deal? Is that part of your process of knowing? No.
We in the state of Texas, a guy can't even bring a deal to us and say, "Coach, is this a good deal or a good contract?" Mm-hmm. We're not. I mean, the only time we ever know, and I don't know, I couldn't tell you the guys on our team that have them. But they have to file them with our compliance office. That's a Texas state law.
Right.
So they can have outside agents to go get them. I mean, and a lot of it has nothing to do with that. They can go get national brands. I know like Caleb Williams and some of those guys out in Southern California, they've gotten them off real estate companies. One of them is with Dr. Dre and Beats. I think Bryce Young at Alabama has CAA represents him. He has deals all over the country. You as a coach, you have no control of that or interaction with it. And I couldn't have told you last year who had what.
But when it comes to your mindset right there, right, when it comes in front of your consciousness, what do you think when you see other kids have those deals elsewhere? What do you think?
I mean, that's more power to them. That's the rules in which they're abiding by. I mean, and they're getting compensated for what they get compensated for. That's great for them, in my opinion. But I think, like I say, how do you regulate that, and how can it stand up for a long time, and where does it go? I don't know the answer to that. But I don't have a problem with our players getting compensated. Mm-hmm. Where does it be fair, and where does that all stop?
Okay.
And how, like you say, the biggest thing, the enticement in recruiting, the enticement in transferring, and all those things, I think that's where your problems occur.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.